Hey up everybody, Magpie Gaming here, and in this video I'm going to give you my first impressions of Escape From Tarkov. Now, I bought this game around 2 weeks ago and I've played probably roughly 10 to 12 hours of the game in total, so I thought I'd do a little first impressions video of it and give you a little overview of what the game is all about and how you play it, to sort of basics of how to play it anyway as I know them. So first off, what is Escape From Tarkov and how does it play? Well, basically if you go on Wikipedia, on there, Escape From Tarkov is billed as a multiplayer arena free roam mode first person shooter, which is a bit of a long-winded name, but basically I would say that it is an arena shooter. That is the basic premise of the game, and what happens is you're dropped into an area which is in the fictional town of Tarkov. Currently there are only 4 areas of this town that you can play. That's shoreline, woodland, factory and customs, and whichever end you start off at, you have to make your way to the other end of the arena to an extraction point, and along the way you can there'll be people to kill and there's loot to be taken from various different things, like you can open car boots and take loot from them, there's wooden cases, there's filing cabinets, there's all different places that you can gather loot from, and the loot can take any kind of form. There can be weapons, there can be computer components, there's clothing items, weapon magazines, ammo, there's all different things, attachments for guns that you can find, and basically you dropped in and you need to make it from one end to the other, and once you extract whatever loot you've got, you can then keep and use that, or you can sell it. There are vendors within the game that you're able to sell to. There's also like a market where you can sell your goods to other players within the game for different prices, like an auction sort of thing, and that's kind of the basic premise of the game. Now there are 2 different ways to play Escape From Tarkov. First of all, there's your main character, which is you, and the loot that you get you can attach to your character. You can drop into an arena and fight your way through it. Now, the kicker within this game comes when, if you're killed within the arena, anything that your character was carrying, everything, clothing, weapons, ammo, med kits, things like that, everything is lost. It's all gone. Now each character gets a alpha crate, and within this alpha crate there are 4 slots. Now anything that's in this alpha crate is never lost. You keep that. So the vast majority of people tend to keep maps within that. You keep your maps, and if you've got a map for an area, then you're able to choose what kind of point you start at within the arena. There are a couple of different places that you can start at, and obviously wherever you start, the extraction point will be opposite end of the map to that. So for instance, I've been playing the customs map, and it's quite a rectangular map. If you start on the left hand side, you'll have to extract on the right hand side, and vice versa. But as I say, of course all your loot is gone, but of course if you manage to kill quite a few people, loot them, get their weapons and extract, then you get to keep everything that you've got from them. Now the other way to play the game is as a scav, which is short for scavenger, and basically if you choose a scav, it will choose what you start the arena with. You might start with just a pistol, you might start with a shotgun, you might start with an AK, you might start with a character that's needs medical attention, so you might not be able to walk as fast, because that's another thing in this game. You're able to select the speed at which your character walks. So if you wanted to go quite stealthy, you can slow your walk, or your crouching right down so that you can go really slow and you don't make a sound, or you can speed it right up if you're quite adventurous and want to run through certain places. But yeah, you start as a scav, and basically the game will choose what you start that arena with. But the difference with the scav is that you're not putting any of your personal loot on the line, and if you manage to make it out, whatever the scav started with plus the loot that you've taken, you get to keep. So even if you start as a scav and say you've got a fairly decent shotgun and a load of ammo for it, and you don't manage to loot or kill anybody within the game, then you still get to keep that at the end of it. So I think that's a good little bonus. The only drawback with the scav is to stop people basically playing it over and over again. You're only allowed to play as a scav once every half an hour. So once you've finished, there is a countdown, and you have to wait for this countdown to finish before you're able to play as a scav again. And obviously this was just to stop people overusing that and playing as a scav all of the time. So those are the 2 ways to play Escape From Tarkov, and a little bit of how to play it. So Escape From Tarkov's been going on for quite a while now. I think it's been in closed alpha for quite a long time. It's probably around a year ago when I did my first video on this, and this was a little video on the trading system that they were at that time about to implement within the game. The game's had an up and down history with the media and YouTubers and people that have been playing it, and this is because at first there was quite a strict NDA on this game, which is nothing new for games that are in alpha or early access. They have an NDA on so that you can't post content, and then I think they upset a lot of people because then they chose certain people that were allowed to make content for the game, and they were seen as taking preference for more popular YouTubers and people like that, and streamers were allowed to do it but others weren't. And the actual like setup of the pricing system for the game was also bashed because I think there was like 8 different tiers of the game that you could buy, and to be able to get into the closed alpha you obviously had to buy the most expensive one, so that annoyed a lot of people. But recently they changed that and they decided that the base game would get you in on the closed alpha, no questions asked, and that has massively boosted the player numbers within this game to the point where when you launch the game, the launcher says that there will be issues getting onto certain servers and there will be a wait time due to the influx of players that have taken up on this game. But hopefully the injection of cash that they've got from these extra players coming in will be something that helps boost this game and build it into something better. My overall feelings on this game are a little bit mixed. I do enjoy it, but I do think that there's some things that could be changed within the game. But you've got to remember that this is a very hardcore game. It's to appeal to a niche market, and whilst that's all good, appealing to that niche market, I think if they want this game to be ultimately very successful, it has to appeal to a mass market, and right now it won't do that. So for instance, in the game, your character, you've got your arms and your body and your legs and your head. Now all of these can be damaged when in a firefight, and of course you'll be able to apply certain meds to your body to bring it back. But for instance, say you have a whole leg that goes to 0 on its percentage, that means that you've basically, your leg's knackered and you've only got one leg, then you can only walk very slowly and you can't apply any meds to that part of your body. Similarly, I had my whole stomach shot out in a game and that was 0, so then I started to become dehydrated within the game and I needed fluids, although I didn't take any fluids with me within the game, so I died before making it to the extraction point. And it's these kind of hardcore little things within the game that make it very tough for it to be played by a mass market. I think a lot of casual players wouldn't even go nowhere near this game. Now for the hardcore market, they're probably happy about that, but for the developers of this game, if they ultimately want it to be a success, then they need to dumb it down a little bit. And I know that might not be a popular opinion with a lot of people out there, but it does need to be taken down a little bit. But I'll go into that soon. I've just got a couple of other things that I want to talk about first. So I'm going to go into things that I like about this game, and some of the things that I like at the same time I dislike. And what I mean by that is that the things that could be improved, that I want to see done better. You know, the idea is there, but the implementation isn't brilliant. So looking at the graphics of the game, this is built in the Unity engine, which I'm not going to say is an odd choice, but I would have assumed that something like this would have been built in Unreal. But Unity's free as far as I know, and Unreal you need a license for, I think, so that's maybe why they went down that route. And it could just be my setup here, that's a little disclaimer, but I do struggle with this game graphically to quite a high degree. Now I've got a 1080 Ti, which chews up most games and spits them out in ultra. This game I've had to change a lot of the options. I've had to lower it down to just high graphics. I've had to remove some of the extra in-game things such as the noise and the grain and things like that, chromatic abrasions, you know, things like that have had to be removed just so that I can get a more stable FPS. But I still struggle with the FPS quite a lot. Within the game it can drop down to as low as 10, 13 FPS and then it will shoot back up to 90, but it's not consistent. There's never a consistent smooth amount of gameplay there. In firefights, it doesn't seem too bad. I've managed to get those where they're smooth. I haven't had like FPS spikes when I've come to a firefight, and that's been something that's killed me, so that's a bonus. But overall, it's not a smooth playing experience. It does need to be tightened up. I think there's a lot of optimization to be done there. But of course, this game is only in closed beta, so there's still work to be done, and you take all of those kind of little things with a grain of salt, because hopefully once it goes to the full version, those are things that will be fixed. The gunplay within the game, I like the gunplay. It feels very solid, it feels very put together. The one thing that I don't like is that there's no kind of feedback to hitting somebody, and by that I mean if you play PUBG and you hit somebody, you'll see a blood spray or a splatter. Playing Call of Duty, you'll get that sharp little sound to let you know that you're hitting somebody. In this game you don't get none of that. You don't know whether you've hit somebody, you don't know whether you've injured them or anything. You simply won't know that until they're stood in front of you and they drop to the deck because you've killed them. So it'd be good to have some sort of feedback within the game to let you know that, and then you know that you're hitting somebody. You don't get none of that, so you kind of, again, it's hardcore. You need to go and check to see if you've killed a person if you're shooting them from a distance. Next up is the sounds within the game. The sounds, now if you play the factory within the game, and obviously it's surround sound, I've got a surround sound headset, and you can hear where people are, that works quite well. But when you move into the outdoor locations such as customs or woodland, the sound isn't always that great. It can be sometimes quite hard to pinpoint where somebody is. For instance, somebody might sound like they're on the other side of the wall shooting. You'll go around and there's nobody there. And it's trying to pinpoint people sometimes when you're outside doesn't work as well as it should do within the game. Again, beta, so that might be something that's fixed in the future. And then we come to some of the things that I think could be added to the game to make it appeal more to a mass market. Now, when you play as a group within this game, you can play with up to 5 other players. You drop into your location, you go to your starting point, and you all start together. But there's no mini-map, there's no names above your teammates' heads to differentiate them from an enemy, and the clothing style within this game is pretty much similar for everybody. You know, it's all like the green camouflage, kind of, you know, the Russian looking camouflage, green fatigues. There's nothing really to differentiate your teammates from the enemy, and because there's no place names above them or anything like that, you really don't know who you're shooting at, and it can be quite confusing. I've been team killed by one of my friends. I have team killed because I didn't know that the person was on my side. I thought they were an enemy and I shot. And I think if you want to appeal to a mass market, that's something that needs to change. Now, I know that being a hardcore game, that promotes communication. You've got to have consistent and constant communication with your teammates to know where they are, what they're doing, and that's good. I think promoting communication within a game is something that some games suck at. Escape from Tarkov doesn't. If you're not using Discord or TeamSpeak or some other verbal communication system, you can't play this game with friends. It's as simple as that. You're not going to get anywhere within this game if you don't have verbal communication. But I think being able to identify your teammates better would be something that would help. That would be a better inclusion into the game. It'd be something that would just give you that little bit more confidence when you're going into fights and things like that. It's very, very easy to lose your teammates. I was playing with my friend yesterday, and if I wasn't concentrating completely on where he was going, it was very easy to lose where he'd gone, and I'd have to ask him where he was and what he was near. And the other thing is, if you don't all have a map for the area that you're going to, when you drop into it, obviously you can pick the point on the map where you want to drop into, but if you don't have it, you just drop to a random point. Now, this happens when you play as scavs, so if you group up and play as scavs, you won't necessarily be at the same starting point, so you've got to communicate and find each other, and it becomes very jumpy and nervous because that person that you're about to approach, you don't know if that's your teammate or not, you don't know if that's an enemy, so a lot of communication has to go on there. And I think just by adding place names above people's heads would be a good inclusion to that. So I definitely think something like that should be added to the game to make it a little bit easier to play. Again, the graphics need a lot of improvement, the sound play needs a lot of improvement. There's then general just nuts and bolts within this game that need to be tightened up. But of course, like I say, it's in a beta, so it's a beta edition at the moment. Those are things that you would assume or expect even to be fixed going forward. Other things that could be added to the game, more map. Now, when you launch this game and you go onto it, obviously there are 4 locations that you can play, but I think there are up to 12 locations planned. I would like to see some of these come online pretty soon. You've had a good injection of cash now, so I would like to see these come up at some point very soon. It's going to get very, very boring, very fast playing the same locations all of the time. Now, I know that, for instance, factory is quite a small location. That's quite an easy one to map out in your head and get around and find the extraction points, etc. Customs, it's very different. It's a very open area. It's got warehouses in it. There are some fields in it. There's a couple of office blocks. You know, it's quite large and expansive. So that's a little bit of a harder one to get around. And there's a lot more playtime within that one. Same as Woodland, that's quite expansive. Shoreline, I can't say anything about that one as I haven't played that one yet. But I would like to see more maps come along and fairly soon. As I said, graphics, sometimes now and again the graphics are quite beautiful within this game. There's some good effects within the game, but I would like to see these improved quite a lot, and I'd like to see it a lot more stable than it is right now. I think, as I say, it might just be my setup, but the two other people I've played with said that they have struggled graphically with this game a little bit, so I'd like to see that improved in the future. So to summarise, my overall impressions of Escape from Tarkov are mixed at the moment. I'm not going to rate it, I don't think I could rate it right now, it's only beta. The overall premise of this game is good. I like the setup of it, I like the idea of it, that you can go in, you can get the loot, get out, you can build your character up, you can level it up, you can trade your loot and things like that. I think that's good, and I think that's something that's going to be copied in other games. Hunt the Showdown is a game that comes across as being very similar to this game. The idea is very similar. Which one copied which, I don't know, but I'm not saying either copied either, to be fair, but they've got the same kind of setup within the game. You go into the arena, you loot, you get out, you know, it's that kind of setup, and I like that. But I think the overall implementation within Escape from Tarkov isn't great right now. There is a lot of work to be done, but there is a good game there if you scratch under the surface. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on this. I'm going to do some gameplay videos over the coming weeks because I've captured quite a bit of footage of this game. It's very much one of those games like PUBG where you can spend a whole round and just get shot once and that be it, there'd be no action. Other times you can go in and you can be in firefights left, right and centre. It's a very much up and down kind of game. It's either all or nothing with this game. So I'm going to put some videos up of that. But let me know what your thoughts and comments are on this game. Is it something that you've been looking at getting but been on the fence about up to now? Is it something that you've got and hated, wish you'd never got it? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.